Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Equalization meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 6, 2024. It's 3:00 p.m. Please silence all cell phones. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the county boardroom. And today we have present Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Warren, Mixon, and Burmeister, along with our County Administrator Bonnie Moore and our County Clerk Deb Hotaling. We also have Jeff Meixel, our Treasurer, and Dan Talakis, our Deputy County Treasurer present. I don't see Dan. We don't today. We don't need him. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 is the consent equalization agenda with items of general business that are routine. Would anyone like to see any items removed from the consent agenda, or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Klug. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned. We'll reset for the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, we're ready.
Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 6, 2024. It's 3:01 p.m. We have present today Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Warren, Mixon, and Burmeister, along with our County Administrator Bonnie Moore and our County Clerk Deb Hotaling. We'll start with Commissioners, Administrators, announcements, and comments, starting with Commissioner Kelly.
Nothing, thank you.
No comments, thank you.
None.
Just briefly, so the board will be considering our legislative resolutions later. I just want to take a second to thank Commissioner Klug for testifying in opposition to 1241, and then Commissioner Burmeister for testifying in opposition to LB 1414. That was last week. That's typically a long day and, can be kind of painful. So thank you for your time in doing that.
We will move on to item number 4, the consent commissioners agenda. Would anyone like to see any items removed from the consent agenda, or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Klug. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Item 5.1 is the Quarter 2 Financial Dashboard Report. Bill Conley, CFO.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today is an opportunity that actually we're gonna start a process to quarterly get before you to talk about the financial operations of the county. For the last handful of years, we've put together a variety of quarterly financial reports. They're available to you and to the public on sarpy.gov, the website. We email out notification when these are available, and I think it's really helpful and it's good corporate governance that we spend just a few minutes on these today. And so I'm just going to highlight some of the things, mostly entirely on the dashboard report, which is what is in front of you on the screen. So just want to talk a little bit about the numbers. What's the story for the county now that we're halfway through the year? The numbers are through December 31st. So the fiscal, I guess, is one thing as background. I would tell you that the fiscal team, Michaela Gansemer, Jenny Rock, and I dive into the detailed reports, which are also available online on sarpy.gov, and we go through every line item of every budget to look at it, revenue and expenses, and it's really a great process. We often identify areas of questions that we ask of elected officials or department heads, and we oftentimes or sometimes find cases where revenues or expenses have been posted to the wrong account. So we're doing that as a way to, as kind of a double check. So just wanted you to know that process is out there. So overall, let me talk about revenues in the first box. Revenues through 2 quarters, the counties received 50% of our budget. So that's what you would expect, about half of the budget through half of the year. Revenues for several of our offices, such as the county clerk, the sheriff, planning, and diversion, are strong, and they are ahead of budget. As I mentioned last week, the county treasurer has done a wonderful job. Him and his team have done a wonderful job on investing cash, and they continue to generate very strong interest on investments. And through 6 months, they've already achieved the entire budget for the year for fiscal 2024 in terms of interest income. So very strong performance there. Revenues compared to last year, which is not shown on this chart, but that's another comparison. Revenues this year, $74.9 million. Last year was $69.5 million. We're up about 8%. And so that's mostly due to property tax increases and local revenue increases. So strong revenues. On the expense side, the next box, if I can lower this a little bit. Expenses for the first 2 quarters, year to date, countywide, all funds are just under $100 million. There's a variety of things going on. That's only 37% of our total budget. So we're well below the 50% of our budget through 2 quarters. There are a few departments, again, we look at all the departments, all the line items. There are just a few departments that are a little over 50% of their budget through the first 2 quarters. We think that's mostly due to the timing of capital expenditures and not any serious issue to worry about at this point. Capital outlay for the first 6 months was about $31 million, with road construction costs and costs for the new correctional center being the biggest component there. So expenses, how did they compare to last year? This was compared to budget, but last year our expenses are up about 15% over last year, and that's almost entirely due to capital expenditures. Personnel, the next component that we look at here, this just summarizes our people cost. Although it's 48% of our budget, it's really a much higher percent when you back out things like transfers and other kind of recurring budget items that we're not going to spend. So personnel largely, mostly makes up about 70% of our total controllable budget. This shows our year-to-date personnel costs and employment. We're up 10 FTEs compared to a year ago. Moving along into the next section, which is bonds and annual debt service. Gary updated this over the last week in response to a couple of good questions you had last week, where you were asking about the particular bonds and what the term of the bonds are. So this schedule lists out the 6 bonds that the county has outstanding currently and the date that we incurred it. So this radio coverage bond was issued in 2016 and it has a maturity in 2026. So that was a 10-year bond. This column shows the outstanding balance as of 12/31/2023, a total of about $165 million. Another thing I added to this chart was what is our overall weighted average cost of capital, which is something we really like to look at and try to manage up in the upper right-hand corner here. This county should be very proud. Our overall weighted average cost of capital, cost of our debt capital, is just 2.56%. So that's, we've borrowed when the time was right for projects that were important, and we've saved taxpayer money by lowering our debt service. So that's really a great story. Final box on this dashboard report is our cash position. As of December 31st, 2023, the county had a total of $100 million of cash in this column. These are the funds that we have. We've summarized the funds into those groupings. That compares to a total a year ago of $136.7 million. The fact that it's down it's not a bad thing. There's reasons for that. The 2 primary reasons why our cash is down is that we have spent money on road construction out of our bond funds that we had on hand a year ago. And then we also have spent down the ARPA funds. You can see a year ago, our ARPA funds remaining were about $20.5 million, and now they're about $8.5 million. So that's the real story there. So, and I'll conclude with just a couple comments on another of the quarterly reports we do put out there, and that's the general fund cash. This has way too many numbers, so I like the chart, but this shows our general fund cash and investments balance at the end of each month. And I look at this all the time. I look at it month end and then throughout the month, wanting to make sure that we have cash on hand, plenty of cash on hand to fund all the upcoming obligations. And you can see there were months back in, some of these years, 2017, 2018, where we had, $6-7 million in certain months. And we're coming up on the end of February was usually our lowest cash month of the year. But this chart, which looks like spaghetti, but it really does show that our month-end cash balance throughout the year is very consistently cyclical. So this is showing July through June month-end cash balance, and you can just see how with the timing of property taxes and other things, primarily property tax from a revenue standpoint, our cash flows pretty consistently. So we currently have about $14.3 million in the general fund. And I think that's really a tribute to one other thing I would comment on, and that is our budgetary reserve policy, which is helpful to ensure that we have enough cash so that we can meet the obligations that the county has in the short term. So that's a summary of the quarter. The county appears to be on track for budget for the year, and I think is still obviously in very sound financial condition. I would open it up for any questions you have.
Questions for Bill?
Bill, I'm going to make a couple comments, and thank you for putting the bond items on there. Appreciate that. Just one on the stadium. It says refunding. What does that mean? You have it labeled as refunding.
Oh, the bond call to refunding. Both of those bonds were previously outstanding. They were issued back in 2011 or 12 under different interest rate environment. And one was refunded prior to me getting here, right just before, and one we refunded right after I got here, and then we added in the soccer improvements to it. So refunding just means a kind of a refinanced bond.
At a lower interest rate.
At a lower interest rate,
Okay,
yeah.
we took advantage.
Yep.
Okay, great. And then I just want to make this comment. I love the cash fund balance that you have on this back sheet here, because there were times when the cash reserve got extremely low in the past. And there's a couple things. My comments are, one, and I think I asked the auditors this question, if they felt our cash reserves were where they needed to be, because there's always a balancing act. I think the taxpayer say, well, why do you keep so much cash on hand? Well, I want to let them know that it's prudent financial management to do that stuff, that we really want to have that cash, but we don't have the crystal ball about the future. So my point there is, and the auditors made that clear, and then they also, it gets back to the AAA bond rating as well. It's important all of that is reflected, so we maintain the AAA bond rating, because that gives us the ability, if we would need to go borrow cash, we're going to get it at the best possible interest rate that's out in the market. And that's a key. And then the times, if you don't have enough cash reserve and you're scrambling and you would have to go get money, usually you're in a time of a kind of recessionary time, and that's when the funds are always at the highest interest rate. So we need to be in this position to just manage through the storms. And thank you very much. Appreciate all of this.
Excellent comment, Commissioner Mixon. In fact, I failed to read something that was my notes, and you hit on it. And I'll just reemphasize that. During the quarter that just ended on December 31st, as you know, we did get an upgrade or updated credit rating by Moody's that continues to be AAA, which is the best rating that we can get. And so I do note that on here, and the date was in October, and so that means a lot. That lowers our cost of capital, that lowers our interest rate that we pay, and then obviously the debt service that we have on any debt that we issue. So
Thank
great
you.
point.
Any other questions for Bill? Thanks so much, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
We'll move on to 5.2 is Resolution 2024-054, opposition of certain Nebraska legislative bills for the 2024 session. Angie Burmeister, Chairman. Just a quick overview of the bills that we have listed for opposition. We have a legislative committee overviewing the bills and making recommendations to the board as a whole. So LB 963 is a bill to change county attorneys to deputy county attorneys. The major concern for the county there isn't a lot of detail in that bill about what would happen to the civil function of the county attorneys, and it just disregards that altogether, which was a concern for us as a board, since that's who advises to the board from a legal standpoint. LB 1183 deals with 911. Oh, I'm sorry. That is a bill to require the county assessor to offer the property, any property that it assesses at a value, to offer to purchase that property from the taxpayer, which would bankrupt the county, so we oppose that. LB 1378 has to do with 911 and coordinating 911 services, so we were in favor, oh no, that's wrong. Boy, I'm not doing so good here already, am I, Bonnie? Remind me, 1378.
1378 is appropriating funds to,
It's sweeping funds out of the 911. It's sweeping the funds, taking funds away from the 911 fund that's used for operations. So that's why it's unopposed. And then 1241 and 1414 together have to do with property tax limits. Commissioner Klug testified in opposition on one bill because they were brought up quickly in the legislature, and I testified on 1414 in opposition on behalf of the board. The problem with the property tax bills from a county board standpoint, generally this is a really conservative board, so we all would like to see property tax relief as well. These bills are centered around caps on property taxes, and the problem with that is they aren't offsetting any revenue, any place for us to be able to deal with county operations. So since the majority of property taxes go to essential services for us, like 911, the sheriff, the courts, things that are essential, cutting those with a cap that doesn't allow for a county that has the kind of growth that we have means that we would likely have to cut into those essential services. So there were some pretty strong concerns there. You couple those with other bills in the legislature that might change revenue in addition to that to the county, and there were some pretty significant concerns, so that's why they're on the opposition list. Any questions, or would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Item 5.3 is Resolution 2024-053, support of Nebraska legislative bills for the 2024 session. Angie Burmeister, Chairman. And I'll just go over these quickly since we've got more on the support list. 869 is a bill supporting veteran service committees and adding some things that we think would be beneficial there. 877 has to do with the ag valuation. We had some issues with that on our board during BOE last year, and these would be changes that would help that particular situation for those taxpayers that no longer qualify. LB 929 is that coordination of 911 services with 988, the new suicide and crisis lifeline. 930 has to do with appropriations of Board of Regents. Do you remember what that is, Bonnie?
So this is one of those, one of Senator Frederickson's mental health type bills. So this is for youth rehabilitation and treatment centers, and also funding a partnership with the University of Nebraska to develop programs for students studying to become behavioral health professionals.
Thank you. And that's coupled with LB 931, which also is a behavioral health bill supporting behavioral health initiatives. And 932 also adds some provisions for provisional mental health practitioner licenses, which we need because we don't have enough providers there. So this is expanding some options there in that area. And 943 is also a behavioral health bill. 1019 is actually our bill to fix the fact that taxpayers have to come back to us after Turk makes a change, and Turk requires us to basically support their change, and even when we don't have any means of overruling it, it's frustrating to the taxpayer that they come back to us, and it's quite honestly a waste of time that they do because we can't do anything about it. So that is our bill to fix that issue. LB 1030 is a county bridge match program support. 1080 is the sewer bill. And then 1097 has to do with commitment of mentally incompetent defendants, supporting another behavioral health initiative there. 1175 has to do with, and Bill Conley talked about this before, redemption of bonds and allowing some expanded things there that are more beneficial from a financial standpoint. And then 28, LR 287CA is a constitutional amendment to require that if there's an unfunded mandate, that it has to be funded. Any questions on any of those, or would anyone like to make a motion? Or did I miss anything, Commissioner Klug?
No.
I'm going to make a few comments on a lot of the different bills and just kind of a summary of what's going on, and the governor is really trying to help lower property taxes. And there's a lot of concern from the counties and from our perspective on this, and as we have outside this boardroom, we have a little dollar bill on the wall, and it gives you a breakdown of your property taxes. And the county portion that we're involved with here is 12% of that dollar. So 12 cents out of the tax dollar you pay in goes to support Sarpy County, our budgets, everything that we do for our constituents. And it's a big deal because that's a small portion of the property tax. And as Bill Conley stated earlier, within our budget, 70% of our budget is personnel costs. And we're all faced with personnel challenges today as well. So it's really a hard place to be looking to cut taxes, because also legislative bills that are out there are looking at capping county budgets at 3%. And the governor is looking at a hard cap of this 3%. And I'm looking and I'm thinking about all this, and I just have to say, if everyone looks at their tax statement, and I'm not singling out anybody or any organization, because I'm not against, everybody has a taxing structure, and they set their levies. But the big elephant in the room is all of the money that's being collected for the schools on your tax bill. So obviously the state of Nebraska needs to look at, is there a better way to fund schools except putting it all on the back, or 75% of it on the back of property tax holders. So we always have to be watching what's happening in Lincoln, because, and this has happened all over the years, there's 2 constitutional amendments One is listed on here. This is a constitutional amendment to require the legislature to compensate political subdivisions, which is a county government, for any locally imposed revenue source that is reduced or eliminated by the legislature. The one they're looking at currently, well, I'm not even going to mention it, but that's important, because if they're looking at eliminating revenue sources and not replacing them, then it comes back to, we just lost a revenue source, how do we make up for that? We have not a whole lot of room to be how would I say it, to reduce things and to reduce our, unless we're going to start reducing services, which I don't think our constituents really want. But the problem here is if they can take it away and not replace it, then effect, what's going to happen again is it's going to go back into property taxes. It's going to increase our budgets here, which the good thing, though, is, again, we're only at 12 cents. And I do want to reiterate why the counties, all of the 93 counties, are very concerned about this, is because the county government portion is usually between 10 and 15%. All of the other, there's all kinds of other taxing entities, and so that has to be addressed. Now, there's one other constitutional amendment that was introduced last year, and it's still around, and that is to force the legislature, any new unfunded mandate would have to be, it's not going to allow them to just say, okay, we want this, and send it down and then have the county have to pay for it. So any fiscal note from the legislature that would come down to us, they would have to reimburse, or they would have to provide the money for it. So we're trying to eliminate them from enacting legislation that creates a cost for the county. And currently, Sarpy County, unfunded mandates from the state legislature to date, in our budget, $15.6 million were required by the legislature. $15.6 million in our budget is for unfunded mandates currently. So those are my comments, and just it's going to be a real tough situation. I know we're all trying to look at the property tax, and we do have to figure out solutions, because we are pushing people to their limits, especially our older people that are on fixed budgets. So, thank you.
Other comments? I think those were good points, Commissioner Mixon. And since personnel is 70% of our total budget, if we're going to cut, it's going to have to cut into personnel. And we had, I think, 19 requests maybe for new full-time equivalent employees last year. We only funded 7 of those with a collaborative effort with all the other elected officials. So it's not like we aren't trying to be careful about budgeting and mindful of spending the taxpayer's dollar. But if we have huge cuts that don't account for growth, they probably are going to cut into essential services, and that's going to be a problem for our people. Anyone else?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Warren, second by Commissioner Klug. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 6.1 is Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency Report Quarterly Update. Don Kelly, Commissioner, and Jeff Thompson, Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency Project Engineer.
Chair Burmeister, County Commissioners, Jeff Thompson, Agency Project Engineer. I will defer to
Well, I
Chairman
just,
Kelly if he'd like to open.
first of all, thanks for coming,
bet.
to both you and Dan. But I just thought it would be helpful for the board, because we're heavily financially invested and also politically invested in the sewer agency and the mission they're trying to accomplish, to have the leadership of the agency come periodically and provide updates for you so you're aware of what's happening. That way, if you get any questions or comments or concerns from your constituency, you'll have a better situational awareness of what's really going on and why things are the way they are. So Jeff is the a former city engineer for the city of Papillion. We hired him away, and he is now the agency's head project engineer. And Dan Hoynes, you might remember him. He used to work for us, and now he's the agency administrator. So really appreciate you guys coming and telling us what's all about all the exciting things going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chairman. I appreciate the introduction and the recap there. It has been quite some time since you guys have seen anyone from the agency here in front of the board. There has been a lot going on. We've been through 2 construction seasons now, and we've got a plethora of pipe in the ground and getting very close to being able to commission the eastern leg of everything, essentially from 63rd Street all the way to the tie-in at the Omaha wastewater treatment plant facility. So when I do these normally for the agency board, I like to show pictures. We have a company that we're working with that do drone footage shots for us about once a month. When I was asked to put this together originally, I had several hundred slides, well, thousands of slides to go through, but trying to compress them to at least give you some magnitude of the type of work that we're doing and the progress that's being made here. But just to start out, maybe a familiar graphic that you've seen in the past showing the extents of the Phase 1A construction. Obviously, this isn't the full scope of the entire sewer agency project, but this is what's currently under construction, currently has funding and is expected to be completed by the end of 2024. So with that, I've got another slide here that just kind of shows just some statistics of the length of pipe that we're talking about in regards to that previous slide. But just to kind of boil everything down, we have about 8 miles of gravity pipe that's going in the ground right now. And we have about 34.2 miles of force main pipe that'll be installed once it's all said and done. Right now, we've got about 23 miles of pipe in the ground. The one thing that's holding us back in making the formal connection and physical connection at the Omaha system is the bore underneath the railroad tracks. The railroad's been challenging to work with, to say the least. But we feel like we're getting very close in getting the schedules aligned with that and getting their inspectors out on site, because they do require somebody to be on site 24/7 during our construction operations there. And then the Corps of Engineers and the boring underneath the Papio Creek was also a bit challenging in making sure that everything aligned there with their expectations and requirements because of the pressures of the drilling fluid and the machinery that's being used. So just a few high-level statistics there. Spend to date, we've spent about $91 million of the $145 million budget. About $10 million of that is actually the cold water blowdown line that we partnered with. The Gemini, Raven, Meta, Facebook, they've have multiple names, or have went by multiple names, but about $10 million of that budget is associated with the cold water blowdown line that we were expected to deliver to them last August, which we did in the time frame that we'd agreed to. So with that, I will just kind of skip through. This line here is the SCI line, the cold water blowdown line alignment that goes from essentially Fairview and Highway 50 and the lift station that Sarpy County currently operates and pumps back up over the ridge line. That's just kind of a picture looking straight east of the lift station site down there on the bottom corner, just kind of showing the construction and the boring that had to take place under the Highway 50 alignment. And then there's what it looks like after we've completed the work and stabilized everything and sent it back to the farmers for their crop production. This is a photo at Platteview through the city of Springfield and the alignment approaching the crossing at Platteview Road there, and the deep boring that took place there was about a 35-foot cut there, and a boring that happened at that particular location. And then that's the location once it's been restored. I apologize, it's hard to make underground utility projects look spectacular because if you're there one day, the pipe's on the ground, the next day it looks like this and it's gone, so please bear with me. This is the micro-tunneling effort that we did through the city of Springfield, Main Street there in the background, the rodeo arena. We actually had to micro-tunnel and bore under that entire arena all the way to the other side, the south side of the stockyards there. And then that's what it looks like once we were all said and done and out of there. This is on the far southern side at the City of Springfield's wastewater treatment plant facility. This is the equalization basin that was constructed, or it's during construction of the equalization basin for the cold water blowdown line from all the cooling equipment at the data centers. That's what it looks like upon completion. Jumping to the next segment, you can kind of see on the left-hand side of the page and the rectangles there, that was the equalization basin. And then our lift station pumps from there all the way up to about 99th and Mitchell Road, where we'll have another lift station. But right now they're stringing out pipe. You can see the snow. That's actually this spring here. They've got several miles of pipe strung and are fusing pipe and installing it in the ground. This is one of the road crossings at Mitchell Road, just to the east of 120th Street. And then this is the pipe strung out, and if you look in the background, you can see the pipe strung out for miles, basically along Mitchell Road all the way to roughly about 99th and Mitchell, to where we get to our lift station. This is the Mitchell lift station excavation. This is what it looked like before they actually started into physical construction. They got the rock pad and base put in, got all the silt fence and erosion control measures in place there, and then they were able to get the mud slab in the base of that structure poured. And as of last week, they did pour the vertical walls on that structure all the way to the surface, and we'll be able to start looking at backfilling and placing some of the other structures at that location. Again, I apologize because the photos aren't real systematic in regards to along the alignment, but we're jumping to segment 2 here, which is working backwards. The contractor has 2 subcontractors working on the project. Segment 1's Van Kirk Brothers, segment 2's the Hymas Corporation, and then the lift stations are being constructed by Hawkins. But we're at 63rd and Platteview here, jumping backwards. This is actually at Platteview and 63rd, just west of that intersection. You can see the dual alignment of those 2 force main pipes that are going in and continue to extend west. This is the crossing at right just to the east of the Sarpy County Public Works Yard, Hidden Valley. And then this is the Public Works Yard and all the piping behind the Public Works Yard and Danny Smith's property there. Just see all the pipe that's laid out and that's strung and fused. Jumping into segment 3, this is basically 63rd Street going east towards the Omaha connection. This again is just to the east of the intersection at 63rd and Platteview. Again, a lot of the similar type of work that you're seeing in some of the other photos, but just kind of gives you a magnitude of the type of work and the things that are going on out there. This is Platteview Golf Course interchange and Platteview Road. And then this is the installation of pipe as we approach 27th Street by the OPVD substation. Moving on to segment 4, we start at 27th Street and work our way east there. Again, a lot of the same photos that you'll see with the pipe strung out, a lot of that work as we approach 10th Street, where we actually start to divert and go south on 10th Street. The background there where you see the excavator sitting in the intersection is actually 10th Street and Platteview Road, looking straight east on Platteview. And then this is 10th Street looking south as we start to work our way around that curve towards Pinecrest. And then this is the intersection at Pinecrest and 10th Street, where we cross Highway 50 with a large steel casing bore there, actually 2 large steel casing bores. And then we start heading straight east down La Platte Road. And this is just a visual that kind of shows you that straight east look of La Platte Road heading towards the Missouri River. And then jumping across Highway 75 at La Platte. This is the railroad crossing. They worked their way all the way up to this location, and this is kind of where we sit right now, just shy of being able to make that connection, but hope to have that done here in the next 2 months and fully completed. And then we jump down to Harlan Lewis and La Platte Road. This is looking north. Highway 34 is that intersection that you see right there, and a lot of the pipe and infrastructure that's all strung out. Excuse me. And then this is the actual interchange of where we're tying into the outfall sewer piping that leads to the Omaha treatment facility. And then just to jump back, we do have one additional gravity line that's working its way down from about 72nd Street, halfway between Cape Hart Road and Platteview Road, to the south and east, all the way to 63rd, where we have another lift station at Zweibel Creek, or what we're calling the Zweibel Creek Lift Station. But it starts at 72nd Street. This is looking east at 72nd Street, just south of Cape Hart Road. This is all gravity line pipe. You can see the boring that we had to do underneath 72nd Street there. A couple of creek crossings as well. This is a crossing we had to do at one of the property owner's driveways. And this is actually a photo looking back north towards that driveway, and you can see all the work and whatnot around some of those little creek figures and tributaries that we had to do there. And then this is the Zweibel Creek Lift Station, similar footprint as what you will see at Mitchell Road, but this is a little further along in regards to the actual structures. We have the metering manholes and the valve structures as well there. And then that's the finished product of the Zweibel Creek Lift Station as it sits today. And then just kind of give you a little highlight of the monument sign that we placed there, just to kind of let everybody know where we're at and what it is and what we're all about. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
How deep typically is the line?
The force main piping, because it's pressurized and by pump, we usually try to get somewhere between 5 and 8 feet of cover over the pipe, just so we get below frost and it doesn't freeze. Gravity, on the other hand, it can get quite a bit deeper. The line through Springfield, the city of Springfield, was 30 plus feet in depth. But traditionally, it's somewhere between 12 and 15 feet of cover is usually what we try to get on the gravity line side of things.
You know, one of the things that I would point out for you, Commissioner Mixon, is that, Jeff highlighted, some of the challenges of getting the permitting done that allows you to bore under, creeks and railroad tracks. Congressman Bacon, staff jumped in when we were, the permitting process notionally should take 90 days. But we were approaching 150 days without resolution, and then Congressman Bacon's staff jumped in and Viola, so they've been very helpful, not only with regards to helping with the permitting, but they also helped us procure a $3.8 million grant of federal funds to help finance the project, so that's been good. Did you want to just touch briefly on what the transition out of the, for the agency itself is, out of the courthouse and into the future with regards to real estate?
I will defer to Administrator Hoynes for that.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
The only thing I wanted to say is if you looked really closely at that picture at Springfield, you'd see Jenny's house, right, Jen? Jenny in here? She reminds me of that every time I meet her on her walk. We're currently looking at options, Madam Chair and board members. I think the preferred site right now, although it's not finalized, would be for us to co-locate out the NRD building. But we want to do the due diligence, expend the ratepayers' funds, in the best manner possible, and they're offering us a pretty good deal. So if that plays out, probably sometime between March 1st and June 1st, we locate out there, but they have, I think, it's a pretty legitimate option that we're going to go tour Thursday, but we are going to do a market comparison.
Guys, any questions?
So just looking at that first slide, the yellow line's done, right?
The yellow line is 100% complete, that's right. Yep.
Okay, and then
almost all of the green line, the green line that kind of goes northwest from Platteview Road, where you see like the little whistle looking, that's the lift station symbol. That's all complete, and then everything down to the tracks is done. And then everything from the east side of the tracks to the creek is done. We just haven't been able to make that jump across the creek yet. So it's just those two little,
Those tracks you're talking, I think, have you ever been down, it used to be the lodge, now it's Catfish Lake,
right,
those tracks.
Yeah.
Those are the holdup right now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's completely done, isn't it? It's tied in with the Omaha system.
no, we're not under the, well, they've got the structure built over the outfall. We just haven't cut the lid and made a lot of the flow metering provisions and things that are necessary at that location because we don't have, it's just not prudent to do that right now, so.
And then next will be the magenta colored.
That is under construction. Yeah, they're already, actually, they got pipe in just about to 84th and Platteview Road coming from 63rd, and then they're working their way up 120th Street from Buffalo, so to Mitchell.
So the goal there is December of 2024.
December 24, yep, of this year, yeah. Yep.
Any other questions? Comments? Thanks so much for coming,
All right,
Jeff
appreciate
and
it.
Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bet, reach out anytime.
Yeah, helpful to have the visual for sure. Item number 7.1 is an executive session for legal matters. John Rice, Deputy County Attorney. Commissioner Klug.
For the protection of the public interest, I move that we go into executive session to discuss a legal matter.
Second.
Move to go into executive session, Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Mixon. Any discussion? Please
Did you
vote.
get the motion? Are we A's 5? A's 5, nays none. Motion carried.
Got it at 3:46.
Moving on.
Thank you. Okay, it is now 4:19 PM. At 3:46, we went into executive session to discuss a legal matter. I need a motion to return to.
So
regular
moved.
session. Motion to return to regular session made by Commissioner Mixon, second by Commissioner Klug. Any discussion? Please vote.
A's 5, nays none.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Commissioners is adjourned.
Okay.